All right, the section that we are starting on today, you have, you've touched on before. If you've had me for Algebra 1, you've touched on it. Okay, you may or may not have touched on it if you didn't. We're going to talk about sequencing, or what we would call patterns. When you are in like elementary school, like first grade, kindergarten, probably kindergarten, okay? They have you do stuff to recognize patterns, okay? So if I asked you what would come next, what would you say?
Circle.
Circle, okay? Now with my kids, I can remember having magnets that I put on the refrigerator and they had to put them in order. And the reason why, you ever thought about why do they make kids do that? Well, when you think of reading, you think of patterns. And so their life is very patterned. When you think of a sentence, you have a subject, you have a verb, sometimes you have a direct object. You know, it just depends on the sentence, but there's a certain pattern that is acceptable in a sentence. When you think of spelling, most of the time there are patterns that play out. So life is full of patterns, and you need to get the ability to recognize the patterns. That's where we're going with this. Now, a lot of ACT and SAT, a lot of like IQ test, if you've ever taken an IQ test, a lot of it has to do with how quick can you recognize a pattern. Okay, that's considered higher intelligence, to be able to quickly recognize a pattern. So sometimes the patterns are consistent, sometimes they're not. What if I did this pattern? All right, if I did that pattern and I said, can you tell me what number comes next? I want you to look at it for a minute.
Or would it be 41? No, yeah, 51.
51. Okay, Joseph's got it. Okay, you've got to sit there and you've got to fiddle in your mind and go, how do I get from one to the next? So typically you would start and you go, okay, what did I have to add to the first one to get to the next one? So I added 5, then I added 10, then I added 15, and Joseph goes, okay, I'm going to add 20. What would I add next? 25. Okay, there is a set pattern here. Now, that's just a pattern or a sequence. That's not what we call an arithmetic sequence. An arithmetic sequence is a concrete, you always add the same number every time. Okay, so like for instance, if I was talking all even numbers, what comes next?
12.
12. Okay, this is what we got, and we go, oh, that's even numbers, I can do that, no problem. But you essentially have done what we call an arithmetic sequence, because you have added 2 between every number. Okay, and you're going to continue to add 2. Now, we don't think of it that way because we think, oh, they're just even numbers. But that's what even numbers are. Okay, we would do the same thing if it was odd numbers. We would add 2 in between them, because with even or odd numbers, you're skipping one number in between. Now, what if, and that's, we should be able to look at any pattern and be able to figure out what the next 3 terms are. These are all called terms, okay? If you will, this is the first term, or what we denote as a sub 1. If I said, okay, I want the 50th term in this pattern. Well, you could make 50 lines and go through and put all your even numbers all the way through there, but that would take you forever. If they asked you for that on the SAT or the ACT, you would be doing that when you should have been doing 15 other problems. So there's got to be a way to get that without sitting there doing the lines. Okay, so if I'm looking for the 50th term, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to use that formula right there. Now what that formula says, the n stands for what term I'm looking for. So a sub 50, or the 50th term, remember the a is the term, is equal to the first term, which I come over here and find the first term, plus, what's my n again? 50, minus 1. What do you think the d might be? It's the common difference. It's what I'm going to add each time. Now understand, you can be adding a negative number. Okay, so you could have a common difference of -1. You could have a common difference of 1/2. You could have, it could be a fraction. But the common difference here is 2. So, to find the 50th term, I'm going to go 2 plus 49 times 2. Now don't forget, you got to do the multiplication before you can do the addition. So this is going to be 2 plus 98, or the 50th term would be 100. Okay, that's kind of cool, actually. It saves time. So I'm looking through here. Now that one was real easy because the common difference was just 2. But I want to find, let's see. Hold on 1 second, let me look at this. I'm thinking about giving you this one, but I want to make sure. Okay. I want you to, now this is going to be a little bit harder, but I want you to try it, okay? You're going to be using that particular formula, all right? So here is my arithmetic sequence. The first thing that you probably want to do is make sure it's arithmetic. Make sure there's a common difference. And I want you to find the 25th term of this sequence, this arithmetic sequence. See what you can do.
So is the D -112?
The D would be whatever you're adding, no,
Oh,
whatever
yeah,
you're adding
adding.
in between each. Because D stands for common difference, okay? Which, for some reason, that's, you know, either, we think a difference as being what you're subtracting, but it's whatever the change is between the two.
Wait, what's the A again?
The A is your term.
Okay.
So when it says A sub 1, you're talking about the very first term. Your N is going to be your 25,
Okay.
because that's the term you're looking for.
Which one's the first term?
Do what?
The first one, 112?
The 112 is your
So
first term. It just means the very first term in your sequence, wherever
Okay.
that sequence starts.
Come on, it's a whole number.
Do what? It does.
Okay.
Yeah. get it?
No, it came out as a decimal. But like what I did, I think they said.
Did you two get it?
Mm.
152? Okay.
Oh.
Is that what you got?
No, what do you do with the sub?
The sub really doesn't affect it. Okay? The only thing the sub does, and what he means by sub is this, like sub 1 and sub n, that just tells you which term you're looking at. That's the only thing that you do with it. Okay? So on this particular one, I'm looking for a sub 25. It's almost like the prime and the double prime on when we did the transformations. It doesn't affect the problem, it just identifies it. Okay? So I have a sub 25, then a sub 1 is my negative 112. Okay? Then I'm plugging in here. Whoops, I forgot the plus. So my n is my 25, because that's the term I'm looking for, minus 1. What do I add to this to get that? 11. Okay? It's positive 11 each time through. So my common difference is 11. So I've got to do this back part first, because remember multiplication is done before, or you could put it in parentheses. So it's going to be 24 times 11 that you can put in parentheses there. So you're going to take your calculator and you're going to go negative 112 plus parentheses 24 times 11. And it's going to give me 152. Okay? Does that sort of make more sense? Okay, it's just a formula.
Because I thought
The
the
subs.
D was outside of parentheses. So I did the 24 plus.
Oh, you did,
Yeah,
oh, okay, no, the
1.4 times
parentheses is not, okay, for that to take place, the parentheses would have to be up there
Right.
too. Okay, the parentheses is just on that. Then, remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sal, so you're gonna do the multiplication and division before you do the addition and subtraction. So as long as you put that in parentheses, you can do it all on the calculator. Okay, let's try another one. We got it?
Yeah, I had 25 n equals 152. Like I thought the n like went with it.
Gotcha.
So I thought I had to simplify.
Hold on, let me find one. We'll do another easy one and then we'll do one with fractions, okay? Because you're going to have to do fractions here. Okay, that's what they give you as far as the terms go. 1, 2, 3. All right, I want the 7th term. What y'all get?
-4.
Should be -4. Did you get it?
Oh.
You still didn't get it. Did you get it, Reagan? Okay, so if I write it out, okay, I'm looking for the 7th term, so that's a sub 7 is equal to a sub 1 is 26 plus, this is my 7, because remember the n is whatever term, minus 1. What is the common difference? That's probably where you messed up.
-5.
Oh,
It's -5. Because to get, you got to think, what do I have to add to it to get from this to this and from this to this? So it's got to be -5 right there, not +5. Okay, now you could have literally, and maybe it would have been easier just to put 7 marks there and to go down and not use this. I don't know. Okay, you can always do it that way, but if they're asking you for like the 150th term, you're not gonna wanna do it. So I've got 26 plus, now that's gonna be a 6. Be careful here because that looks like it's minus 5. So you might be tempted to go 6 minus 5. No, that's multiplication. So it's 6 times negative 5, which is a negative 30, which when I add to the 26, I'm gonna get a negative 4. Okay, does that make sense? All right. It's almost boring because it's the same thing every time. And that I find that boring in math. All right, we're going to throw a fraction in here. All right, be careful on your fractions. All right, that's your sequence, and I want to know, again, let's do the 7th term. Sometimes it will help to just convert these to a common denominator so you can see the common difference between them. Got it? All right, what'd you get?
8.75.
8.75. Anybody get something different?
I got 8.7. 8.5.
Okay, let's look at it. Now, I've got it as a, hold on, let me start this.